We used to breathe. The sky stretched wide and bright, a flawless blue brushed with drifting clouds soft as cotton. Sunlight poured over the park in generous light, catching the grass, warming the worn wood of the picnic tables, and gleaming across the folds of a red and white checkered cloth. Children's laughter rang out nearby, sharp and joyous, a sound that skipped across the open air. Their shouts tangled with the steady thud of a ball hit in leather, with the slap of running feet on dirt. From a cluster of voices at the tables came a passing remark, spoken as lightly as talk of weather. We had them trapped in the house. You know, the people. They were scared shitless. They started boarding the doors and windows like it'd help any of them. They didn't realize we could shift into shadow and slip right in. A few throats answered with dry, rattling laughter, like wind teasing through dead reeds. Another voice followed, smooth with amusement. People always building prisons for themselves. The group chuckled again, the sound ragged, breaking apart into wheezes and coughs, yet carrying an air of agreement. The conversation drifted on, easy and unhurried. A woman's hand lifted a pitcher and poured lemonade into a waiting glass. The liquid swirled pale and golden, sunlit as it filled. Droplets slid down the glass and spread across the cloth in small, dark patches. Her hand steadied the pitcher. Nails lacquered a perfect ruby red, their shine unmarred even where the skin around them had peeled away. At the knuckle, the flesh had torn, exposing a clean curve of bone, the finger still moving with a practiced grace. A gold ring clung to what remained, loose but gleaming. The laughter at the table swelled and rolled outward, seeping into the hum of the park itself. Across the lawn, under the shade of an oak whose roots curled like knuckled fingers, two men bent over a battered chessboard. One hunched forward, his spine completely exposed, the ridged bones stark against the torn shirt soaked through with old, dark stains. His opponent's beard clung stubbornly to the few strips of skin left on his jaw, his nose long gone, leaving only a hollow cavity above his grin. They argued amiably about Star Trek, whether Kirk's brashness would outwit Spock's logic in a real match, while their pieces clicked against the board. Children shrieked with laughter nearby, bursting in and out of smoky shadow, their small bodies dissolving into dark haze before snapping back whole again. One boy, thinner than the rest, lingered too long in the shift. His outline wavered, and his squeals carried a note of strain. "Luke, don't shift too much," a woman called from a nearby bench, her voice rasped but still touched with the warmth of habit. She leaned close to her companion, her burned skin pulled taut in uneven patches across her face, the scars catching sunlight like melted wax. "He got stuck last time," she muttered. The other woman, nothing but bones dressed in a summer dress, her empty sockets tilted toward the game, nodded slowly. Beyond the benches, the scent of charcoal carried on the warm breeze, mingling with the sweetness of cut grass. A grill sputtered, tended by an older man whose lips had long since peeled away, teeth grinning in a perpetual rictus as he flipped patties with a steady hand. Beside him, a woman in a sundress stirred potato salad, her wrist bone jutting clean through the skin, yet she hummed an old hymn under her breath as if nothing were amiss. Closer to the playground, a pair of teenagers leaned against the swings, their eyes dark hollows, heads bent together in conspiratorial whispers. Every so often, a strip of blackness trailed down from the corner of one girl's socket, thick as ink, smudging her cheek like makeup left too long in the sun. She laughed, wiping it away carelessly with the back of her hand before nudging her friend toward the slide. At another table, a family gathered around a deck of cards. One boy slammed his hand down triumphantly, sending a scatter of bones from his own exposed fingers across the tabletop. His father, jaw stripped down to tendon and gleaming teeth, laughed until it rattled his throat. He scooped the pieces back toward him as though they were nothing more than spilled peanuts. And everywhere, scattered between the picnics and games, the shadows lingered, curling at the edges of blankets, slipping beneath benches, darting quick across the grass as though the day itself were bleeding into something darker. People came through the trees of the park, still bickering, their voices sharp from fatigue and hunger. No one could agree which road was safer, or whether they should have turned back hours ago. Then, through the branches, came the sound. Laughter, high, shrill, unmistakably children. A murmur of conversation carried on the breeze. The arguing faltered. They pressed forward, hope catching in their throats. The park opened before them like a postcard. Blue sky stretched overhead, clouds soft and white as cotton. Picnic tables lined the grass, a spread of food glinting in the sun. A woman in a summer dress poured lemonade into a waiting glass, her smile warm, her hand steady. Two men hunched over a chessboard nearby, one chuckling as he tapped his knight forward. Children darted between them in bursts of color and sound, their laughter spilling across the open air. For the first time in days, the travelers thought, people. But then the details began to betray them. The woman's fingers, ruby with nail polish, trailed over torn skin, bone glinting through. The chess player's back bowed where his spine had burst clear of muscle, shirt dark and stiff with old blood. One child flickered as it ran, bursting into smoke before pulling itself together again. A smile held too long, lips shrunken, teeth too bare. The light shifted almost imperceptibly at first. The sun dimmed as though a gauze had been drawn across the sky. Clouds gathered, thickening into bruised shapes that swelled and spread, swallowing the bright blue overhead. The warmth of the day drained away with the light. Shadows grew long, stretching over grass and table, over the children's darting feet. They bent and warped unnaturally, reaching too far, pooling where they shouldn't. The chessboard dimmed to gray, its pieces now small silhouettes locked in frozen struggle. The breeze that had carried laughter stilled. Leaves stopped trembling. Conversation faltered. Laughter withered into silence. One by one, the picnickers turned toward the edge of the park, as though pulled by a single unseen hand. Their faces followed in eerie sequence, necks creaking, eyes where eyes remained, hollowing into dark pits that bled slow rivulets of tar. Skin sloughed, bone grinned, mouths moved in broken motion, soundless words caught behind ruined lips. The people felt the stares pin them in place, dozen upon dozen, unblinking, patient, knowing. A weight pressed on their chests, a silence louder than their own ragged breathing. "We should go," someone whispered, their voice cracked and papery. Another nodded, already edging backward, gaze locked on those black dripping sockets. Now. They turned quickly to leave, dread snapping into urgency. But the trees ahead weren't empty. A figure stepped out, tall and skeletal, its frame draped in the tatters of what might once have been a coat, now rotted to ribbons. The flesh that clung to its bones looked boiled away, stringy and blackened, lips peeled back to expose teeth slick with tar. Where eyes should have been, only pits remained, bottomless and wet, bleeding darkness that dripped onto the roots at its feet. The air around it seemed colder, its presence leaching the last of the day's light. The group froze. One clutched a knife at their belt but could not raise it. Another's breath caught in their throat. The silence between them stretched, brittle, until the thing's jaw cracked open. "Choice is simple," it rasped, voice dry as rust scraping steel. "Join us in shadow, or become our lunch." Weapons were drawn, trembling in hands that barely remembered how to fight. Their gazes never left him, caught in those leaking voids where eyes had once been. They didn't notice the ground stirring, the shadows crawling until it was too late. Black tendrils whipped out from beneath the trees, wrapping around ankles, wrists, throats. The group screamed, their blades clattering uselessly as they were yanked back into the dark. The world snapped to black. A pause. Then the hollow voice again, closer, filling the dark. "Lunch it is." The people's screams ripped through the void.